Hello, everyone. I'm Prerna Juneja from University of Washington. In this presentation, I'll present our paper, Human and Technological Infrastructures of Fact-Checking. With the increase in scale and diffusion of online misinformation, efforts to develop AI-based systems for fact-checking have also increased. However, most of such systems are limited in practice. Consider this quote from one of our study participants, where they said that there is lots of research done on fact-checking, but it does not impact how they do or report fact-checking in their organization. Similarly, another participant from the Washington Post revealed how an AI tool contributed to fact-checking only a handful number of times in the last few years. One of the main reasons why use of fact-checking systems is limited in real world is because design of such systems is often seen as a purely technological problem. But fact-checking is a socially situated technical phenomena involving collaboration among multiple stakeholder groups. So in this work, we attempt to foreground the social by revealing the human infrastructure, that is, the stakeholder groups who are central to the process. And then we highlight how the technological infrastructure, that is, the tools, technologies, and policies, enable the work of the stakeholder groups. Our hope is that by considering both the human and technological infrastructure underlying the fact-checking process, we might narrow the gap that exists between the needs of stakeholder groups and design of technical systems for fact-checking. This leads to three research questions that our study answers. First, we ask, who are the various stakeholder groups involved in the fact-checking process, and what roles do they play? And how do tools, technology, and policy support stakeholder groups in performing their roles? The foregrounding of the infrastructures supporting fact-checking helps us unravel the barriers to fact-checking. So in our second research question, we ask, what are the various needs and challenges faced by the stakeholder groups? To answer the research questions, we conducted semi-structured interviews with 26 participants from 16 fact-checking organizations or fact-checking teams within publication houses. Our participants had diverse representations from 4 continents. Our findings reveal the existence of 6 distinct stakeholder groups: editors who oversee the fact-checking process, including planning what topics to fact-check; fact-checkers who monitor online platforms and investigate dubious claims; copy editors who ensure the integrity of fact checks; social media managers who strategize on ways to increase audience engagement with fact checks; investigators who conduct in-depth investigation of persistently circulating disinformation; and finally, advocators who aim to improve fact-checking quality through policy initiatives. By studying the stakeholder roles, we establish that fact-checking has evolved from a process to debunk individual pieces of misinformation, which we call short-term claim-centric fact-checking, to a multi-step long-term campaign involving research, policy, and advocacy work, which we call long-term advocacy-centric fact-checking. Now, I will briefly describe the stakeholders involved in the short-term claim-centric fact-checking. This fact-checking starts with news desk editors who decide what their team is going to fact-check based on several criteria, such as popularity and reach of person making the claim, number of people likely to be misled by the claim, traction gained by the claim on online platforms, and finally, several types of harm that false information is likely to cause. News desk editors also guide fact-checkers in their day-to-day work. The second stakeholder group is of fact-checkers who monitor the online platforms. For this, they rely on users' reports and tips. They create watch lists and track social media accounts of repeat offenders. They perform manual searches on online platforms and third-party tools to find the misinformative content. And once they find the potentially false content, they then identify claims in that content to verify. They investigate the claims by consulting experts, employing authoritative publicly available evidence, and using online tools. Then they assign a label indicating the veracity of the claim. We found that there is no single standard labeling system that is shared across the fact-checking organizations. And finally, fact-checkers write a report declaring all the sources that they gathered during their investigation. Next, we have copy editors who do quality control of the fact-check by improving the phrasing and correcting grammatical errors. Then we have social media managers who disseminate fact-checks and determine ways to make them more appealing. They also measure the engagement received by the posted fact checks and, based on the feedback, continuously update their amplification strategies to increase engagement with those fact checks. Fact checking also aims at improving the information landscape by conducting research about online misinformation and influencing policies about data and information. And this type of fact-checking is supported by two stakeholder groups. First, investigators who conduct in-depth investigation of persistently circulating disinformation campaigns via data and network analysis. Then advocators who conduct trainings on how to perform fact-checking and how to operate a fact-checking organization. For example, a Germany-based news agency, DPA's fact-checking team, launched Factify, an e-platform to train journalists on how to do fact-checking. Advocators are also actively trying to reach their country's policymakers, bidding the importance of fact checks and evidence-based decision-making. For example, fact-checking organization Full Fact has been campaigning to increase transparency of online political campaigns. Advocators also organize literacy campaigns, educating people on how to critically examine information that they find online. They also spearhead initiatives to improve accessibility and quality of data and information. And finally, they also work towards forming coalitions with other fact-checking organizations and internet companies. Now, I will discuss the findings of second research question by presenting the challenges faced by the stakeholder groups. First, they expressed skepticism towards AI because of its black box nature. They also distrust AI's capability to detect falsehood in online content. However, we found that stakeholders showed a willingness to adopt such AI tools for low-stakes scenarios of monitoring content on social media as compared to high-stakes scenarios of assigning a veracity label. Algorithm explainability combined with tools that have humans in the loop emerged as key values that are desired in the AI systems. Stakeholder groups also discussed several challenges surrounding policy and information availability. We found that automation often fails because data in several countries is not available in a user-friendly or machine-usable format. For example, one participant said that they often find data in a PDF or image. Our interviews with fact-checkers in the Global South revealed that information needed to investigate claims either does not exist or is not updated periodically. Our participants also complained about algorithmic bias in terms of how content indexed in search engines is skewed towards the Global North region, making it very difficult to search for local content in regional languages of the Global South. We also discovered several technical challenges. We found that monitoring social media platforms is the most tedious task, which is mostly performed manually by the fact-checkers. Online social media platforms' affordances also become a hindrance. For example, none of the online platforms except Twitter show search trends that indicate what people are most talking about on the platform. Stakeholder groups also complained about lack of tools for video platforms like YouTube and private messenger platforms like WhatsApp. We also found that fact-checkers face significant emotional toll and stress in their job. They are often victims of online threats and abuse from users and conspiracy theorists whose posts they were tasked to debunk. Now I conclude by highlighting the contribution of our work. We render visibility to the human and technological infrastructures of fact-checking, and in the process, we highlight the invisible aspects of fact-checking, such as editorial, advocacy, and policy work. Our work also has implications on the future research on fact-checking. We show that while most research has put a disproportionate focus on technical solutions to improve fact-checking, in reality, a holistic change could only be achieved via systematic changes in the civic, political, and informational contexts. Finally, our work shows a dearth of fact-checking tools built for regional languages of the Global South. This brings us to the end of our talk. Thank you very much for listening. I'm happy to take any questions.